Welcome to the Garden State Baseball Podcast. Everything you need to know about amateur baseball in New Jersey. Here are your hosts, Steve DeTrolio and TJ Hunt.
All right, welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Garden State Baseball Podcast. Today we have two reputable pitching coaches, Jerry Oakes from University of Pittsburgh and Mike Marron from Old Dominion University. What's up, fellas?
What's up, Steve? Teach? How we doing, man?
What's going on?
What's up, guys? Good to be here.
Yeah, a lot of crazy stuff going on right now, right?
Yeah, that's for sure.
A lot going on. Just trying to use those cliches day at a time. Just trying to work through it and get some perspective on this. It's been, I know for Jerry and I, we got two little kids, and a family at home, and as tough as it's been on a lot of those fronts to, kind of with so much up in the air, I think we try and spin it right and say it's been good to be able to get this kind of experience with our families that we never had before come spring and early summertime, and we might not get again. So as tough as it's been, I think it's also been a good thing to be able to get to experience that with them. It's been, that part of it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely.
Well put. So two major pitching coaches here in the Northeast area. We kind of were discussing this off air a little bit, but we wanted to get into a little bit about your programs and first and foremost your programs. Talk a little bit about your conferences and what you guys got going on campus. I guess we could start with Jerry.
Yeah, it's actually a really exciting time to be a part of our program. I say that, we just got a new head coach, now 2 years ago, but, Coach Belcano is from Florida State, and that was a big change here, which was good for our program. But, we just got a brand new field. We actually just only played one game on it this year, and I'm sure you might have seen some pictures, but they did it right. It's beautiful. It really is. So we're really excited about that. Did some stuff to our indoor facility down in our field for our pitchers and stuff like that. So that's going to help us, in a lot of ways. But, they're actually putting $15 million into where our locker room area is as we speak. So we're really excited about that. It'll be good for our players. It'll be a new nutrition center, player lounge area, player classroom area, new coaches' offices. So honestly, there's a lot of excitement around our program. There really is, and in our athletic department in general. Our athletic director has done a tremendous job in putting money into all of our sports, and it's shown tremendously in the last couple of years, and it's just built a lot of excitement on campus. So we are, man. We're excited, and as you know, in our league, we almost have to do that. All facilities in our conference are top notch, and like I said, we're trying to keep up with everyone, and you almost have to this day and age, but we're excited what we got going on. We needed it bad, we really did, and still have a ways to go, but you got to start somewhere. So we're excited.
Cool. What do you got going on?
You had mentioned,
go ahead. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Steve.
You had mentioned, Coach Bell in his second year. You guys also had a new football coach around the same time, correct?
No, that was about 4 years ago. Coach Narduzzi came to us. Yeah. So.
And what effect have you seen from the football program? Has there been any kind of trickle down where, obviously, football is a big driving force, especially in the Power Five? Has that trickled down to all the other athletics, around campus?
Yes, it has. As you know, when football wins, everybody wins. We actually got a new basketball coach, and Coach Capel came to us from Duke, and he's done a tremendous job. So there's stability, I think in all of our sports. Heather Like, who's our athletic director, hired two coaches in our soccer program that have won a national championship. Our volleyball team has now won, I think, 3 ACC championships in a row. So, as you know, it's in general. We're all rooting for each other. But when the two big dog can get it going as football and basketball, it's amazing what it does to your whole athletic program for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's why I had to ask, because we being Jersey guys, we're kind of fired up. Shiano's back, and just to see how that affects all the other sports just in general.
Yeah.
I think football is a driving force. So
For sure.
what's got you fired up, Mike?
Well, I mean, Jerry, and by the way, I mean, Jerry's done a great job there for a really long time. And if anybody listening to this isn't familiar with him or know his resume, he's not going to speak on it, in too much depth here, but he's done an incredible job there for a really long time and put a really, really consistent, high quality product out there on the mound, for a long time, for a number of consecutive years. And, so it's good to see, obviously, the growth of the program since he's been there, and now the kick that it's going. He's, like I said, he's done a great job. So it's been fun to see his progress there. But in terms of Old Dominion, listen, it's the reputation of this place here locally, and then obviously in the Garden State. I think is one that's been going on for a long time, right? Starting back to, the days in the 80s, the best of the East camps that have come down here and, kind of become a mainstay for a lot of people. My old high school coach, I was just talking with him from Germantown Academy. He was talking about all the experiences that he had, remembering the time that he had at Old Dominion during those camps. And so I think it's a really cool thing that has connected a lot of generations, right, in these areas up and down the East Coast. And so I think that's obviously a really good starting point for us to work off of. Facilities wise, we're fortunate. Our field is right on campus. It's right in the middle of campus, and it is centered between all of our support staff facilities, our strength weight room, our academic center, and our athletic training is right behind the left field wall, and then right behind home plate. Just off campus is where 75% of our guys live. Sophomore through senior year, they live in townhouses that are within a couple of years old that are right across the street. Just a pretty cool, unique experience to be able to wake up outside your room, look out your balcony, and see your field. Right there in front of you. So, facilities wise, I think we're fortunate. We've invested, close to, somewhere between $6 and $7 million into the facility since, Chris Finwood, our head coach, has been here. Since 9 going on 10 now for him. And so we've been fortunate what we've been able to get, in terms of the additions here. Again, the location of it right on campus. It's a beautiful setup. And obviously, we've been in quarantine here for a few months, and that's been unfortunate, but this is a great area to be in, right? Whether you can get out of your house or not. And I've been fortunate, like with having 2 little ones, we've been able to do some walking and some bike riding around our area. The area around the field is great. I live 6 blocks from campus, so we're able to get out, go down to the water, hang out there. Our guys, when they're here, when they're around, it's a great place to be. You're surrounded by beaches, surrounded by water. You're 20 minutes from the ocean front here. It's a fantastic spot to be all year round. And so I think we're fortunate in that area. And then in our Conference USA, it doesn't have the Power 5 label that's attached to it. But it's still a bear of a baseball conference. And, we're the northernmost conference and arguably the southernmost conference in terms of, having FAU, FIU, Rice, Southern Miss, Louisiana Tech. You're talking about some really awesome, programs with a lot of tradition, a lot of rich in history, and some national championships won in there. And so we got to, be able to find guys that love and are excited about the opportunity to go down in some of these venues and go after and compete. And so we're lucky. I mean, we play in a great league. We're in a great area. And, what we have, on a day-to-day basis here is, we're very fortunate. So we're lucky to be in this spot. And, obviously like Jerry and like everybody else, just trying to, kind of figure out the next steps in how to, build out our programs here, coming off of this break, how to handle the recruiting, what next steps there are, and just trying to kind of work through all this as best we can.
Definitely. Here's also a little fun fact about ODU. Who holds the all-time home run record? I know there's 2 people now, right?
Well, it's It's not Verlander. I know that. I don't think they let him hit, but his brother, believe it or not, here I'm a sidetrack fun fact. Ben Verlander, Justin's brother, ended up when Coach Finwood got here, actually flipped him from the mound to got him hitting. He ended up being an All-American his last year here. So I don't know what records he holds, but I know he ended up finishing out his time here pretty well. But no, you're gonna have to tell me. I don't know that off the top of my head.
I know he holds it now with somebody else who tied it, but one of our Diamond Jack coaches, Tony Gazelle, holds the all-time home run record at Old Dominion, and I think it was just recently tied a few years ago because we were razzing him about it, and I think they end up tying for – he didn't beat him. I think he ended up tying him. So
I should have known that. I should have guessed that. Coach Guzzo is going to be so upset at me for not having that answer. That's one of his all-time favorite. Tony Guzzo is, a legend here and still with us on our coaching staff, and I should have guessed Tony. I apologize for that. That's on record.
I don't expect anyone to know. I only know that is because Tony, he lets us know. Actually, no. Tony's actually very modest. He probably would kill me even we're even talking about it. But, so obviously, you kind of alluded to a little bit about, what's been going on, the pandemic and everything. And, obviously there's been a lot of stuff that's been affected by this from, obviously recruiting and budgeting and, all that kind of stuff. What have you guys seen in terms of just, the landscape of college baseball? I mean, what are you guys talking about, in your inner circles, things that are happening, things that you might be concerned about?
I mean, I think the biggest thing is just the unknown, right? It's are we going to have fall ball? Are we going to play 56 games next year? Or are we not going to have fall ball? When are we going to have school in the fall? I think every school is different in every aspect, So I think that's the biggest thing, and everyone wants to know the answer. And honestly, we're probably not going to know for a while, I think those first couple of weeks, to me, I don't know if I put my phone down at all. It was crazy, and now I think where the dust is kind of settled a little bit, and it's just a waiting game, Obviously, us as coaches, the biggest thing is just making sure our players are okay. Obviously, we're done school now, but make sure they're on the right track and to be prepared whenever that time might come. And honestly, even that is sensitive because you ramp them up and you don't know if you might not get going until October, or you're going to start September 1, or you're not going to start until January, So I think that's the biggest thing I got for, the coaches I've been talking to is just, what do you do, And I think right now, as we're just waiting for the draft. I mean, we got to worry about our rosters and stuff like that, before we even get going some of this. So I think that's just – and as you know, there's going to be change. That's the biggest thing. And we don't know what that change is. But right, we all know. I mean, we go through so much stuff. I think we'll all be just fine. It's just getting to that point when we can finally get going. And then – because to me, honestly, we're not going to be the same for a while, I mean – travel and baseball in general, I think, is just going to take a solid year or two just to get back to normal. So,
yeah,
Jerry made some good points there, and obviously on the player side, he brought it up. It's just, I think the most important thing, and this is across the board, right? Just trying to, hey, let's take advantage of the time we have each day, right? And there could be some preparation opportunities that come with that, and it's all within what's available to you at this time. But, just trying to take advantage of what you can now. But the other thing too is getting, people understand, it's an unknown for everybody. And we don't have a lot of answers either. Like, we're working through this as best we can with the information that we have currently. We're trying to be proactive, with our own program, with our own guys, trying to be proactive on communicating with people on the recruiting side of things and just letting them know, kind of giving them updates as best we can into our situation. And just, I think that communication is so important because we're getting real-time info like everybody else is, right? And, we're not holding cards here in terms of information that we have that we're not giving out. Like, we're finding this out as we go. And so, control what we can as best we can, communicate when we find that out, and keep kind of working together kind of get down the road here, to hopefully be productive, with the rest of the summer, and hopefully when we get back, at some point this fall.
Well said. And you guys touched on the travel aspect, in like speaking for 2021. I know, like on Twitter, people go back and forth, like you follow Kendall Rogers or D1 Baseball or what have you, about all these different plans and stuff that could be talked about at ABCA or what have you. There was one that I don't know if it was football or baseball or all sports, where they were thinking about consolidating the different conferences. So, like, we mentioned off air how UConn's going back to the Big East. Does UConn, Rutgers, Old Dominion, Pittsburgh, are they all grouped into one kind of Northeast conference of Big D1s? Like, what are your guys' opinion of that, and kind of the restructuring based on, just deficit of the school budget?
I mean, I see that one. I see that one a little bit more of, I think it's much more regional than that, right? I think it's even dialed down from there. Not that I think that's everything's on the table in terms of what's going to create some more efficiency with the bottom line financially. Mm-hmm. So I think everything's on the table, but I think that's more regional. I'll let Jerry speak on, kind of from a Power 5 perspective. I think that's a little bit less. I think they're going to be a little bit more willing to kind of hold true with their plans as it is right now. But I think everybody, I think across the country, people are going to be a little bit more willing to. I mean, like, you can spin it, right? Like, we can talk about how it's not going to be the same and everything's different, or we can spin it and say, hey, let's look at, like you mentioned, the baseball model. Like, let's look at some of the things that aren't functioning as well as they could. Let's look at some of the inefficiencies, the things that we'd like to see improve, and let's see if we can use this time now to get better at some of those things, right? Like, there's like the game before all this happened was not perfect. It was in good shape. It's growing. It's getting better, at the high school, at the college level, and let's keep that momentum going. Mm-hmm. But there are also, let's use this as a time maybe to see if there's some things that we can do to improve it and improve the day-to-day and the student welfare of our players. And if that means we got to make some adjustments with travel, so be it. If we got to do some other things, so be it. Like, let's explore those. Let's get creative with it, because who knows, we might be able to come out of this on the other end with a little bit of product than maybe we even started with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, same thing. I think Mike hit it on the head. We can say 5 different things, right, guys? And we don't know what the right answer is. I think it's just, taking what we think is going to be in the best interest of our players. I mean, I've heard some people say, well, we're not going to fly, we're just going to take bus. And I kind of laughed at, like, okay, well, we're going to be on a 56-seater bus and we're going to be crowded even more. You know what I mean? So it's like, is that the right answer? You know what I mean? But you get what I'm saying. It's just, I think we're going to be on the fly for a while here, and it goes back to each school is going to be different. Everybody's budget's different. A Power 5 budget's going to be a lot different than a mid-major. Is a mid-major going to be able to go down to Florida, for the next 2 years to open up their season? No one has that answer yet, so it just goes back. And we all know we're going to, but it's just about putting our kids in the best, safest position possible. Yeah. That's the biggest thing.
And I spoke to both of you guys, in the early weeks of this whole situation. And I know, Mike, you specifically said you thought there would be a big fallout with some possible programs that, just from budgeting or whatever may end up dropping. And we've seen that recently, obviously Bowling Green, Furman, the latest one. I mean, do you think that a lot of this is budgeting, and some of these people making these decisions are just saying that it's, okay, well, this costs us X, let's chop it, and then we're good? Or, like, what goes into some of those things? I don't know if you had the answer to that, but I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I definitely don't have the answer for that. That is way above my intelligence level or pay grade. So that's, I'm gonna have to pass on that part of it. But no, I understand. I mean, I think a lot of these decisions go into, okay, we talk about, like, we're looking at it from a micro perspective, Jerry and I, like, okay, what's in the best interest of our players? in athletic departments, I understand and respect their processes of like what's best for the athletic department as a whole, right? From a macro, from a bigger picture, like what can we do to make sure that the student athlete experience is good for everybody that we have in here? And, some of these processes that are happening are, maybe they were on the table before and this kind of sped it up, accelerated it maybe. I think that, what needs to happen is, I think the challenge that everybody needs to look at too, though, is that, we're obviously, I think maybe it was Coach Cooper might have been Brent from Penn State brought this up. I thought I saw something on Twitter about this, but like, the players and the student athletes that we're bringing in here are also adding value. Like we have to be willing to, look at things from a little bit more of a holistic perspective and not just a bottom line perspective. Like, what is the value that we're bringing to the table here from a program standpoint that helps, we're that old saying that we're the front door, the front porch of the university. Like, are we adding value? I mean, we're fortunate this past semester we had a 3.65 team GPA. We've been over a 3.0 GPA for the last 12 semesters here. We had the highest team GPA of any school, of any baseball program in Conference USA last year. Academics are an enormous part of what we do. And I think that those types of things are not just in our program, but, across the board. Like, we're adding value to the university as a whole. Some of those things can't be measured in necessarily in a budget meeting. So, just be willing to, a willingness to kind of look at things holistically. But again, I also know that I'm not the one making those decisions. Those are challenges that, a university has to make, right now that are not easy and they're not taking lightly. These are made with a lot of concern, for everyone involved. But, just, I think those are important things too. Like, it's not just, we are measured on wins and losses, but we're also, I believe firmly we're adding more value to the university, hopefully, if we're running it right than just the wins and losses.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That definitely makes sense. That new baseball model that TJ was referring to that kind of came out, D1 Baseball reported on it. It sounded like there was, a lot of good stuff in there, and they were potentially into saying that a big part of their budget, I guess, is travel, and maybe starting a season later would alleviate some of those Northeast teams that have to go down to South to play baseball games, because obviously in February, you never know with the weather, but it could be dicey. Do you guys see that as a positive? They would push the season back?
I think it's definitely a positive, to be honest with you, for sure. Now, will that happen? I think there's also the fine line with school being out. Will there be fans in the stands and stuff like that? But being a northern school, obviously, I would love it. I really would. And like you hit on, I think that helps a ton of programs, on the financial side where they don't have to travel as much. I just think it's better for the game, to be honest with you. You look, I came from a southern school in coastal Carolina, and you're out the first week in January and live games and the whole 9 yards, and we don't have that up here. That's part of what we have to go through. But that's, as you guys know, that's a huge advantage, and it takes those northern schools a solid 3-4 weeks to even get their feet wet. And before you know it, you're in conference play and stuff like that. But I do personally think it just benefits the game. And you're playing less colder weather in general, less injuries, the whole 9 yards. So.
Yeah, you touched on it there too, like the injury side of thing. Like, it's a healthier way. Like, there's a longer ramp up period that we have access to. You're trying to fit a whole lot of workload in a pretty short window right now. You got to be really smart about how you build that out. When you're getting to when you're turning the year over, coming out of fall ball. So obviously that helps there. That helps across the board, across the country. The Northeast programs have a ton more flexibility in terms of what they're able to do, how they're able to, kind of run the on-field stuff, how they're able to travel, how their schedule's set up. That makes a huge difference. And then for Southern schools, like, I know we're going to be able to, get more fans in the seats in June than we are in February. Like, we're playing, we're fortunate. We're playing 35 of our 56 games every year at home, right? It's an awesome thing to think about. Like 35 of those games on our schedule are right here at the Bud. It's a great thing. And it's a great, a great part of our experience. But I'm all for playing, however many percent, like flipping the February, beginning of March games and adding that to the end of May and June. And you got some of the ACC, SEC, some of the Power 5 places that their attendance, you're going to have some good ones, some good attendance numbers here. Like those are only going to go up once you get closer to the summer and school gets a little bit closer to getting out. You got some Big Ten programs that they have these beautiful facilities and they're not able to, function or use them at the capacity that they probably could if you're able to move that season back, whether it be weather, just the way the scheduling's set up now. Like being able to take advantage of the growth of this sport, the way it's gone, the investment that universities and athletic departments have made into facilities, the best way you can take advantage of those investments is being able to put the season in an environment where you're going to be able to use it more.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just that simple, right? Like Jerry's talking about that, the investment they're making into a beautiful field. You can see it right there. Like, that's awesome. Like, okay, well, let's figure out ways to be able to take advantage and realistically use it more, right? Like they're doing, like they always do their little battle with West Virginia midweek. Like those are two really cool facilities that you get to use. Like you put that in some random, like Tuesday at the beginning of May, or you put that at the end of May and June, like you can get a ton of people out for that thing. Like that backyard brawl or whatever they call it, that thing's going to be rocking. And it is now, I'm sure, but you can enhance that quality. You can enhance that experience that much more when you're playing that in 70 degrees versus something that's not 70 degrees.
Yeah, I think it'd be a game changer for our sport. I really do. Because I'm sure you guys know, but, there's some schools that don't even go back to school till second, third week of January, and then, hey, you got the season in 4 weeks. That's tough, So, and as you all know, we all want to play in better weather. And like you said, come summertime, it's baseball season. I really think you might get more fans.
What's stopping that? Kind of going off the cuff. What's stopping, like the first part, like the whole season in February, just moving into June or July? Like you figure, like baseball, like you think about the movie The Sandlot, right? Where they're watching the fireworks during the 4th of July and they're playing baseball. Like, why can't college baseball take that? Like, what's stopping that?
You're taking some. There's some logistical things that I think come from, whether it's where do those guys live in the summer, meal plans, when you're outside of the 2-semester kind of window. Okay, how are we financially supporting these guys? And then you're also talking about, you got to feel like you got these great facilities, these great opportunities. We got to fill them with support staff. And so that's another thing that, people have to consider. So those are some things that I think that are factors for sure. Right. Do I think they're outweighed by some of the other, benefits that come with that? For sure. I do. But I think those are some realistic things that they, if we want to get this model passed through, which I think majority of us probably do, those are some real conversations we're going to have. Like, where are these guys going to live? How are they going to eat? How does that factor into the financial commitments that are being made here? How the event's going to be, taken care of outside of the standard windows that they're in right now. And you're going to be doing stuff during the summer that, shortens the window for guys to maybe be, away from college. So those are all factors. But I think if you're really serious about student athlete welfare, like having the opportunity to not be doing midterms and finals right in the heart of your season, if we're serious about those things, like having the season adjusted is a massive, improvement on that. Like being able to get through midterms before you start your year, getting guys to be anchored, build routines, build good habits in the classroom, be able to get those, their day-to-day balance between the classroom and the field squared away before we really hit the ground running and start traveling. I mean, we're not traveling as much, but like, Jerry's been through it. I've been through that. Like, we know how much that jams us up as coaches, right? And we're not having to go do Monday morning classes and take exams and finish papers on the road. Like a lot of that stuff gets cleaned up. And so that might even, you're talking about also, I mean, just quality of life, day-to-day guys' quality of life, their mental health, like they're going to be a lot happier. They're going to be like their balance on being able to come to the park with a lot less bricks on their shoulders. Like all those things get enhanced, improved. The quality of life for us, the quality of life for them, I think takes a step up. So all those things outweigh, I think, some of the other negatives that might exist currently.
Yeah. Interesting.
I think too, like, there's always logistical things that are not at the forefront until you start diving into it. And then there's like, okay, well, this is the reason why this is in place. But it's a good thing where when you can look at the positive from a serious situation like we're involved in, and maybe there is some positive that can come out of it and some changes that we weren't looking at originally and saying, well, maybe this is better moving the season and doing these other things. And then maybe you have a better product, than you would have had, I guess, if nothing happened right now. So there's definitely some positives that we can take from it.
No doubt.
So kind of moving on here, the reason we brought two of you guys, both you guys on here is to talk about your pitchers, right? And with the season getting cut, where it was towards the beginning, how have you guys shaped your pitchers or told your pitchers the workload that they have to be preparing for? I know that some of your guys are still, their summer leagues are still intact, right? So they're, they probably have that on the front, of their minds to prepare for those to actually compete. But, for those guys that aren't necessarily, they don't have a set date to get ready for, what is your strategy for them just to maintain their arms? What have you told them so far?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question, and it's funny when it happened, me and Coach Bell talked about it back and forth, and I remember telling him, I said, Coach, I don't know if it's a good idea for him to play this summer, and at the time he said, I want them to compete, and so did I, I just didn't know if it was the safest thing. And then it's funny, a couple of weeks later, he said, I really don't think I want them to go out. So that's been a tough part for me as a coach, to be honest with you. But basically, I put them on a 9-week program. So they took about the first week off when all this happened, and then we kind of just put them through a long toss program. They're actually on the mound right now, which I'm good with, just because, as the season would still be going on. And most of this was all to prepare them for summer ball. Most of our guys were going to go pitch. Because of the situation, to get some innings and get some work in. So, wanted to prepare them for June. So, obviously, some guys are going to still go play summer ball, a handful of them. Some guys will be shut down after that. So, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, because they're still on that same basically routine / program, whether they'll get shut down, whether they'll go play summer ball, and then obviously be prepared for the fall season, But it's I don't know, it's a little touchy for me, just because, as the biggest thing I tell our guys is you have to stick with the routine, and I'll be honest with you, for me personally, I look at all the positives of this. Obviously as a father, like, I'll never get this time again with my 2 kids. I probably spent more time with my kids. I have an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old, than I have their whole lives. I mean, we're never home, as you guys know. So that's been awesome for me. But also as a pitcher, like I tell our guys, like, when are you ever going to have this time to master your craft? And to me, it totally separates everyone in the country, because when they wake up, they're all going through the same thing, and this is where I get like fired up, because it's something that when you love, like, I'm going to go dominate someone next year because I had all this time to master a changeup or my pickoff move or a PFP that I was never good at, that you never have the time to do it. You know what I mean? And I mean, it excites me. It also worries me, is because, as there's kids that are probably just sitting on the couch and sitting on PlayStation for 9 hours a day. So to me, there's no excuse at all. Like, you have this time to go compete against yourself. Everyone says they want to be like elite. They want to be a professional baseball player. Well, do you know what that takes? It's a time like this that when you're going to have an all season, you have to put 3-4 hours in a day. I mean, let's be honest. It's tough because you don't have weight room, but guys should be in the best condition shape. You know, there's so much explosive stuff they can do to better themselves. So I'm more worried about that aspect of it. You know what I mean? But that's the biggest thing I go back to is you're going to separate high school kids, college kids. You know what I mean? They're all in the same boat that, you know, they're going to separate themselves big time. And if not, honestly, you're going to see a lot of injuries too.
Yeah.
Because some guys are just going to go from 0 to 100, and we all know that's just tragedy, you know? So that's the biggest thing I've been telling our guys, Phil, is just get 1% better each day. But I mean, my gosh, like what an unbelievable opportunity you have, like to just master your craft. So
for sure.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's really good. And those are really good points. And that idea of mastering your craft is spot on. And I like what Jerry talked about, like that 9-week kind of build out. You know, I think there's some value to that because, you know, hey, the body, like for as long as anybody can remember that we have in our programs, like guys were throwing in March, April, May, right? Unless they were hurt. Like it's not a bad thing to have the body continue to go through that routine and go through that process. And it also helps with guys in terms of like the following year. You don't want to go from, you know, basically not throwing at all during this time to, again, the speed, it's the acute part of it, right? Which is like the speed at which you ramp up. We don't want guys to be going, you know, and spiking their workload, but also there's the chronic part of it, right? Like we still want guys throwing now because, you know, even without a date necessarily in mind, because, you know, we don't want to get to next year and those guys running out of gas because we didn't do anything during this time, right? And so I think there's some definite value to what, you know, to the importance, to the long game of guys doing work now, right? There's the mastering your craft, but then there's also just like continuing to build really good quality workload, you know, with your training. And so we've done it, you know, we kind of did it with, I just kind of made up the start date of July 1 and we kind of worked back on that. When it was over, we kind of deloaded a little bit, went in a couple of weeks of active rest. But I didn't want to necessarily shut guys down. Like I've in the past, I've like one kind of solid chunk of time in the course of a year if we can do it. And sometimes for us, it's in the summer with certain guys. Hey, we'll shut you down for a couple of weeks here for a month plus, maybe somewhere in that range. And if they throw a lot of innings for us, and let's, you know, take the back half of the summer to build up and get ready for summer ball or for fall ball. And that's something I think has been good for us to have that chunk. But again, they're not coming off of, you know, 15 plus weeks of playing. So their rest periods don't need to be as long or, you know, as dormant in terms of like putting the ball down. So for us, that's just kind of how we looked at it. Like, hey, we're going to stay picking up the baseball and then kind of build out. You know, we kind of started end of April, beginning of May, you know, working a long toss program that is going to, you know, get some guys. We'll have a handful of guys maybe in some local leagues that'll be able to pick up and go July 1. You know, at that point, probably some facilities will be open up. And we have some guys that might go out and do some training there. So we just kind of looked at it like, hey, we want to get guys, you know, take this period to build guys up and get them ready for that period, you know, that portion of the summer where I think some things might open up. Again, not right or wrong, like Jerry's talking about, like we're trying to make these decisions. Like it's hard. It was hard at the end of March trying to give direction for something to these guys. Like these guys are all looking at us like, hey, what should we do? And again, like we're trying to just make the best guesses, the best estimated guesses that we could in that with the information that we had. And I think, you know, for the most part, I think a lot of guys that I've talked to coaching wise have, you know, kind of done a pretty good job in terms of getting those guys prepared for whatever the next step may be.
Yeah. No, it's difficult. I mean, I think all across the board, like you're just kind of making it work, you know, it's just so unprecedented that like, I'm sure as soon as the season got canceled, like a couple days after, you probably had some guys texting you like, hey, like, what can I be doing right now? What should I be doing? And it's like, I don't know. Like, I'm trying to figure that out. Just everybody's trying to figure it out. So no, it's difficult. It really is. It's definitely, you know, there's no right or wrong, for sure. I mean, two kind of different ways of going about it, but yeah, as long as those guys are ready to get back on campus and compete in the fall when they're in front of you guys, that's the most, and healthy, of course.
Right.
That's the most important thing. So interesting.
Are you guys concerned with your pitchers in this respect? Like, so you obviously the kids play baseball because they enjoy playing the game, right? And so you maybe they pitch in the summer, they don't. They come back in the fall, and they just want to compete and want to play. Where maybe the fall was normally like you're starting to kind of like maybe tame it down a little bit, where you're not ramping these guys up. But these guys they want to play and they want to be on the field. They're ramped up. Say October, November comes. Are you going to see that affect the following year, or like what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, that's a good question, but a tough question. It goes back, I think, with TJ. I mean, like, you just don't know. You know what I mean? I wish, I'll be honest with you, no one has the answer. You know what I mean? I just go back to, I think if they have a routine, and right, as a pitcher, it's about feel. So even if I'm on shutdown, I'm probably going to throw it 3 days a week, even if it's a late 60 feet, just to have a feel. If I don't throw for 2-3 months, I'm in trouble. You don't even know sometimes that, you have guys that go pitch in the Cape or Team USA, and you shut them down and they come back the following year and they're not the same guy because they didn't pitch all fall, and then boom, they got to go get ready for a season. Yeah. So I think there's just a fine line. To me, I've always said, like, I want my guys to throw in the fall. You know what I mean? Number one, there are guys, you know what I mean? Like, not that, to me, the fall is the best time to get better. You know what I mean? So, what you're saying, I think is a great point, and I think can easily happen. I think you could see a lot of injuries come the end of next season, to be honest with you, just because you don't know what they really did. It's a trust factor. You hope, what we're giving them they're doing, but let's be honest, there's some they're not. You know what I mean? So to me, that's a very touchy subject, and I'll be honest with you, I don't know how Mike feels, but that's the biggest thing I'm worried about. I don't know if I'm going to get in September and be like, oh my God, we got 10 guys that this is a disaster. Or you hope that it's the other way around. You know what I mean? So it's really tough. It is. Yeah. So.
Yeah, it is. It's a part, but it's a part of what we're working through, right? And so we're learning too, right? And again, like, trying to spin it like, hey, there's some things that, even just this year, like, kind of thinking about this a little bit more, like how I would treat guys, like that period of shutdown versus that period of active rest. Like, that's something that I've kind of changed probably my views on, not just short term for this, but this situation has forced me to kind of reevaluate that a little bit. And I think for the better, right? In terms of how guys kind of how they treat their shutdown and how they ramp up from that period. I think that's the biggest thing for me. College, high school, professional guys are challenged with that right now as we speak, in terms of, you want to talk about like on-ramping periods, like whenever they start, that's going to be fast. It's going to be steep. And so that's a scary thing, for them as well. But the biggest thing I've learned, through my experience, in terms of health, and that's always my biggest thing, is the thing that, I'm always feels like I'm looking at the most and always concerns me is just, their health, right? Like, making sure they're staying healthy and going in the right direction. But the period of on-ramp, like, and I think that happens a little bit too much. Just because the arm feels good doesn't mean that it's good to get up and start going full blast, with your work, either on the mound or off the mound. Like, there needs to be a period where your body is conditioned to be able to handle that. Like, there's a good way somebody put that was, like, you got to build shock absorbers in the body, right? With your work, with your on-ramping period, for you to be prepared to handle the spikes that come later on down the road. And if you haven't built that foundation, if you haven't built that base, if you haven't built those shock absorbers the right way, by the time you get to, a pothole in the road later on down the season, like, your body might not be prepared for that. And that's the hard part for Jerry and I, is that some of the stuff that comes up, they don't always come up right, like, at that moment, right? There's some stuff that, is born from some different phases of their career, right? Some different points. And so it's our job to try and monitor that as best we can, and, work in the present as best we can, but also use past history to help give them some guidance. But I think that's really the thing that we've been trying to impress upon our guys, whether it's, guys are going to facilities, whether guys are playing the summer, whether guys are just really kind of getting their routine, back and going for the fall. Regardless, like I don't want to. I have no interest in ramping guys up too early to get to an arbitrary number. Like there'll be some guys that might be starting up. Their seasons like end of June. I'm hearing that we have a couple guys maybe that like, all right, well the season's going to start this period. It's like, well, you're not going to be starting the season more than likely at that date. Like we've built you a plan for this date. Like if you want to pitch, like it's probably going to be around the number that we set up. I'm not going to speed you up for that, to get 10 innings this summer. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
And I think that, from a high school perspective, that's something that's really valuable for everybody to appreciate, right? We have to evaluate it and take some stock in it from an evaluation standpoint, right? Whenever we're able to get back out the road and evaluate guys, our challenge is going to be what are we evaluating when we first get back on the road? Like not everybody is going to be coming from the same path, right? And so that's going to present its own challenges. And then for each guy, high school, wherever they're coming from, are they prepared enough? Have they built up enough arm fitness, enough conditioning with the body to be able to handle those spikes that are coming down the road here? And I think that can't be stressed enough. Jerry mentioned it already. I'm just trying to double down on that. I think those are the, you guys know it, Jerry knows it probably better than I do. Like those, the injuries that come are usually at the beginning and ends of seasons, right? And sometimes you get a little bit of break in the middle, all-star break wise, like some stuff starts to creep up there too. Anytime that we go into shutdown and then try and, fire it back up, those are some dangerous spots. And sometimes the body kind of lies to, again, we might feel good, but if we don't have that base underneath us, it can lead to some problems.
Yeah. I mean, you talk about, making sure guys are healthy, and I'm sure it's different for everybody, every pitcher, everywhere, every coach, every program. But my next point that I wanted to get into, and we talked about it again off air, is the importance of like player development versus almost like competing. Okay. So like, I want to know, I'm just curious to hear your thoughts on this. Like there's so much that's into just pitching and player development. You look on Twitter, you look online, Driveline automatically comes to mind, right? These guys are developing these arms. They're focused on, intent and all this stuff that's into developing velocity and ultimately, having you play for a longer period of time. I'm just curious to hear your guys' opinion of like in the off season, either in the wintertime or even in the summer, how do you evaluate which one of your pitchers needs that? Like who needs to go to one of those programs where they're going to be working out and doing not necessarily velocity based training, but training their arms so they're ready to go, versus going to a summer league, whether it's the Cape or anywhere, just to compete and get innings. How do you evaluate that? What goes into that decision process, and when does that necessarily happen? Like when are you making up your mind? Is it a year-long thing? What have you?
That's a really good question.
Yeah,
yeah, really good. For me, it's basically the end of the season, when you're sitting exit meetings and stuff like that. Okay, hey, this is what you need to work on. I think some of those things like Driveline and stuff like that, everyone wants arm strength, right? I mean, you see it every day on Twitter. This guy threw 90 into a net and stuff like that. And, I know I can be old school at times. I probably should watch what I say, but the thing that always baffles me is like, yes, we want to build arm strength and stuff like that, but how about you have to learn how to compete?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't care how hard you throw. Okay. We care about, you got to get outs.
Yeah.
But going on that subject, everybody's different, I mean, you might be 6'5", 240, and the guy to your left is 5'11", 160. Is Driveline going to benefit him as much as it is this guy, or vice versa? Do you need to just go on a long toss program? Do you have to, will that help you get a better feel for hand placement and stuff like that? Do you need to just get in the weight room and you got to get stronger in every aspect? And be honest with you, one that guys don't want to hear is you might have to go do yoga 3 days a week. because you got to get more flexibility. You know what I mean? Your hips are tight, and you know what I mean? You can't even get around the center of your spine. So there's so much to this. And I'll be honest with you, as a coach, I learn every year, like, holy cow, why didn't I do this 2 years ago? You have to really get to know your guys inside and out. You really do. You know, you need to know what guy can throw a 3-2 changeup and bases loaded in front of 8,000 fans. You know, you need to know, you know, who's really has a plus fastball and can pitch in. You know, you need to know if this guy, you know, you would have to really push him or back off, if that makes sense. I'm not trying to go off subject here, but I think that goes in hand in everything, you know. But I do listen. When I started my career, I'd give guys like 4 or 5 weeks off. I don't know if that's the right answer anymore, you know, because the one thing I've always, as a coach, kind of, I don't want to say struggle with, but there's a fine line of shutting down and building back up. You know what I mean? I laugh sometimes. Well, coach, my shutdown is going to be, I'm going to do driveline for 4 weeks. I'm like, well, that ain't no shutdown. You're going to throw heavy balls for 4 weeks. You know what I'm saying? So you get my point. Like, we can go on, but like, I want to say, hey, let me tell you something, man. How about you learn how to compete? You know what I mean? So, I do. Every guy's different, and I think you just have to really, as a coach, you got to know your guys. You know what I mean? And what's going to be the best fit for him. Maybe driveline is definitely the best fit for him. Sure. You know what I mean? Without a doubt. You know, maybe this guy needs to just, honestly, he needs to go ahead and go to the beach for 3 weeks and clear his mind and get away from the game. You know, so yeah. Don't mean to kind of go off subject there, but
we're all dreaming of the beach here, Jerry. It's all good. It's all good. It's where we're at right now. Hopefully they open our beaches up here this weekend. I don't know how it's going to go, but they got Jerry. I mean, Jerry's dead on with that. Like, you got to know your guys to decide what the next phase is. I think everybody's going to like, you know, competing is the most important thing, right? Where do guys derive their confidence from, right? Like, in other words, like, competing comes from confidence, right? Like, in order to be a competitive dude, you got to be a pretty confident dude. You got to have a pretty good feel for yourself, your own identity, what makes you good. You got to be pretty comfortable with yourself. So there's that confidence that is needed to be a really good competitor, right? Like, Jerry knows that there are too many, like, insecure dudes that are wildly good competitors, right? Those two kind of work hand in hand. And so I think you got to decide, okay, where do guys derive their confidence from? Is it from getting experience on the mound? Is it going toe-to-toe with hitters for 2 months in the summer and really learning a little bit about themselves and what they do out there? Or is it like, hey, I'm watching some guys out there right now with stuff that doesn't really play at this level at this point. And those guys, before we start stuffing them in front of hitters again, maybe their confidence needs to come from making an adjustment with something like building a better weapon, right? Like, their toolbox needs to be improved, right? Like, they need to either get stronger or they need to develop an out pitch that they don't have right now. And maybe that is better developed in a facility where, you know, we can dedicate our next couple weeks to getting better at these very specific things. And then you flip it back around, you know, come fall, those guys are in a much better prepared position, right? Because I think we've all seen it where on both ends, guys go to a facility, they work their tails off, they come back, they haven't improved their competitive spirit at all, right? They have not, you know, improved their ability to be able to toe up with a hitter. And on the flip side, we've seen guys that go out and have really good, successful summers on the mound and just cruise and dominate. And then they come back and they're still struggling with the same challenges that they had when they were around in the spring or the fall or whatever. And so I think a lot of it, like Jerry said, it's going back to understanding the individual. What does that individual need? You know, what's most important? What's the most important next step for that guy to be able to build his confidence in himself so that he can go on and take on just a more competitive understanding of himself come time to toe the mound.
It's a good question, though, Teach.
Yeah, the way I look at it, I think there's three kind of, I don't know if you call them skills or what have you to pitching. I think you have to be able to move well and actually throw well, right? I think you have to be able to actually pitch well. So moving well is just the way the arm works, right? How the hips and the legs work down the mound. Pitching well is like, can you spin something, right? Can you locate, like, specifically how the ball comes out of your hand? And then I think number 3 is competing, like you guys were saying, right? You have to, if you have those first 2 and you don't have the third one, well, you're not getting innings in the spring, right? If you have one, not the other, it's going to be difficult to balance, right? So I think both of you guys, I thought the insight there was awesome. Like, shoot, like, it's got to be the complete complete package. I mean, for me, when I was a freshman, I came into school, I was 6'4", 175 pounds. I got 5 innings my freshman year, and I benefited from going away to summer ball and getting 40 innings, right, and competing. Yeah. Kind of finding myself, even though it was in, East Bumble, New York, in the NYCBL. But that doesn't matter. Even that's good. But for my brother, a kid who's a freshman now, or going to be a freshman again because everything that's happening, maybe he needs more of a development to actually learn how to throw, well. So there's a lot that goes into it. And I think you guys kind of hit it right on the head for sure.
I would also, and add to that, I do think the level of competing is huge, just because of, I mean, if you can't go out and to what Jerry was saying, you're going to throw a 3-2 changeup in a huge game in a huge spot, and the other stuff's sort of irrelevant anyway. But I think as a high school anyway, looking at a high school player, the competition factor is huge, because I think a lot of times in the summer baseball, fall baseball has become like more laid back, and you just go out, you throw a couple innings, and you lose that fire or that competitive drive. And then, whether or not that's going to help you or hurt you, I guess it's probably individualized to that player, but we are seeing that a little bit more. And I'm sure you guys see it because you guys are evaluating these kids, where you don't see necessarily that kid's, he goes out in a travel baseball game, and you know what, you got to go 7 innings. You have to go through the lineup 3 different times. They go through the lineup once, it looks good. We take them out as coaches because they showed well. But as a high school coach, I'm on the other side of it. We gave the ball to our starter, and he was asked to go as far as he can go, because you're trying to win that baseball game. And obviously that's more similar to what you guys need. And obviously there is a competition, or there is a competitive factor in that. A kid just going to, grit through, innings and just kind of muster up and go back out again and kind of fight through that stuff. So, obviously it probably does go hand in hand to what TJ's saying, but I do think the competitive drive is a huge factor in all of it.
There's got to be some type of psychological study where, like, the more you experience something that in terms of competing in a situation, you fail, and then you learn, right? You develop those patterns or those strategies to get through it. And then all of a sudden you've been through this situation this X amount of times. Now you're elite at it. I look so often at, Steve and I were talking to a couple of high school coaches a couple weeks ago. And they were saying, like, you always bring up the kid who's a showcase player, quote unquote, who shows well, he's got the skills or the velocities, what have you. Then in a game, he doesn't really show up. And then it's like, well, what's he doing during the high school season? Is he competing, or is he saying that his arm hurts, or is he saying this happens or something, that he can't go out and compete in those situations? So I think there's something to be said where, you have to develop that, the consecutive or the consistency, competing in those situations to eventually contribute to your college seasons. So anyway,
I think there's I think it's the most interesting topic. I'm sure Jerry agrees. Like, it's the most interesting topic, that idea of competitiveness, of toughness. How do we create it? How do we create environments, in our day-to-day, in the fall, and throughout the year to put guys in competitive situations? Because guys are going to learn competitive if they're in competitive situations, right? Like, a game does not guarantee a competitive situation for guys. And again, like, there's guys that are comfortable in some settings and guys that aren't. You can, again, like, I've seen it all. Like, I've seen both ways where, like, you always think that, some of the bigger tournaments, like, okay, those are really valuable because you get to see guys in different environments. Like, I've seen really successful guys, either with us or not with us, that, like, couldn't get out of the first inning down at, like, Lake Point. Yeah. And then I've seen guys that have, like, gone out and just dealt and just been unhittable for 7 innings down at Lake Point And like, I've seen the success and failure at the next level from both sides, right? Like, it doesn't guarantee. And again, it goes back a little bit to Jerry. It's like, it's knowing that guy a little bit more, because I think the competitiveness is not just for some guys. It's easy to compete for an hour and a half at something that they're talented at, and that their skill level at that point overmatches the dudes that they're competing against. That's not a challenge to them. The challenge is when you bring them into a program and they look to the left and right and realize that they got a bunch of dudes that are maybe hungrier than they are and willing to outwork them, willing to outtrain them, and to get to the point where they're going to earn the trust of the coaching staff to get on the mound, to earn those competitive innings. Like those moments or those environments, guys can really get clammed up and really be pushed around. So like, because they're not, like, that passion isn't there, the ability to be present and to stay focused. Like, I'm using a Butch Thompson line here, but like, to stay present for long periods of time, like, that's a challenge for a lot of guys. Like, guys can get in and out really quick, and like I said, look super competitive, but the competitiveness, as much as anything, is like how guys handle day to day. Like Jerry talked about routines, like how, like, toughness is, can you stick with a routine for an extended period of time and not deviate from that? Whether you're like at the field getting like a really good structure in place, or whether you're sitting at home trying to get your work done in a garage, like that to me is toughness as much as, you know, being able to, you know, do some stuff in some different environments in a game. I mean, it can go either way.
I think it's just a great subject in general. You know what I mean? And I think more high school kids need to hear stuff about that. Yeah, I go back. I'm sure you guys watch. I mean, The Last Dance. Like, come on, man. If you want to run through a wall, but it doesn't happen on accident. You know what I mean? Like, that's greatness right in front of your eyes, because he knew what he wanted every day. You know what I mean? And I tell guys all the time, it always baffles me where they just go through emotions. I'm like, so that guy at the plate is trying to take, right? You say you want to be a pro athlete, or you want to win a championship, or all this stuff. He's basically taking the food off of your table. You know what I mean? And like Mike said, I think that's the problem with kids now is they can't lock in for more than like 10 minutes because they're so used to getting on their phone for social media instead of, you know what I mean, going to work out for an hour straight. Or they're so worried about what just their velocity is instead of what their pitchability is, you know? And listen, we can go on, and we all know I don't know. I think there's a part of it you're born with it. You know what I mean? Like when you wake up, you have a plan what you want to do in life. And listen, that might be to be a trash man or a teacher. You know what I mean? But you have a will and a drive to be, you know, great in everything you want to be. You know, and I just think, I don't know. It bothers me because I think kids they think they're going forward, but they're actually going backwards, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? You sending me a video or a text that you threw 92 miles an hour, no offense, that doesn't mean anything to me. It doesn't. You know, we got a guy that threw on Sunday this year that was 85 to 88. And if you said to most teams, well, he's going to pitch an ACC, they would laugh at you. Well, he was going to get you out because he was going to find a way, you know what I mean? And he just competes. So I don't know. I think it's a great subject. I really, but more importantly, as you know, right? As a coach, you're trying to train these guys to be a father or a businessman or, you know, just a better person. And all this goes in hand. This isn't just about getting outs. This is about that you're going to foul in life in so many ways that if you can't compete and if that don't drive you to be the best, then you're just going to be an average Joe, you know? So I don't know. I get excited. So sorry.
It's fired up, man.
It's actually a really awesome topic. I mean, you mentioned The Last Dance, which obviously everyone needs to watch, even if you're a basketball fan or not. But there's actually a point in that documentary where they talk about Jordan and how he's able to stay present so often, and just, you know, that's was one of his gifts. And whether he learned it or he just was born with it, I guess we'll never know. But you know, he's quoted in there saying that he's like, "Why am I going to worry about missing a shot I haven't taken yet?" Like it was never even a thought in his mind. Where obviously some guys are worried about failure, and that's, you know, they're thinking about the past or thinking about the future, and they're not in the, you know, in that moment right there. But you know, I'll ask you guys, and whether you guys want to give up some of your secrets or not. But when you're evaluating travel baseball in the summer, I mean, obviously it's the next season for these young kids. Like, how do you know if he's a competitor? Like, what are you looking for? Maybe just even something a little bit small. Like, what are you looking for to see if he's got that little, competitive gene in them.
Yeah, I mean, that's tough. I don't think you can really see it, Steve. I really, in particular, really try to watch for that stuff. You know what I mean? When a guy gives up a hit, not saying you got to get mad by any means, but you know what I mean? Like, that guy's going to find a way to get a ground ball, or that guy's going to find a way to punch the next guy out. Like, I think sometimes you can see it in their eyes, and even on talking on the phone, like, you kind of can just tell in some ways, you know what I mean? Like, guys that just have that, I like to say they have that it factor, you know what I mean? And honestly, they're the guys that we need. And you're going to get burned. You're going to think this guy's a stud, and he ends up, I think Mike said it earlier, like, you can think he has it, but when those bright light people ask all the time, how's your team going to be? Well, I'll let you know in March, when we get done playing Miami, and because that's when the bright lights go on. I mean, TJ, you pitch, at Monmouth. I mean, it's not just an inning here, an inning there. It's pitch by pitch by pitch. You know what I mean? And that's, I think it's getting harder and harder in this day and age, because they're almost given stuff, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Because it's all about them instead of all about us. And little do they know, when it becomes us, you're going to become better, because guess what? Now you're going to get pushed. And I think Mike just said this. It's the truth that, they're so worried about the guy left to their right. You've already lost, my man. You know what I mean? Why don't you worry about being first and running, and first going to the field, and first, getting A's and B's in the classroom? You're going to be pretty successful. And guess what? If we can have a group of those guys, then we're going to be successful. It's just like Mike. I pick guys' brains all the time, and Mike will tell you, I've known him for a long time. I mean, I like to just talk baseball, you know what I mean? Because I don't have it all figured out. But guess what? When we play Old Dominion for 3 hours, I ain't going to like them for 3 hours, you know what I mean? But that's like been lost, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't really like going up against guys that I have relationships with, because I'm like, it's miserable. Like, that's a battle. Like, I'm not like, so I don't like, Finney will just say, hey, like, you want to play this team or that team? And I'm like, if I have a relationship, like, no, I don't. Like, I'm not that interested. Like, I'd rather talk to Jerry on the recruiting trail, get on the phone with him, kind of break it down that way. Like, I don't want to have to, like, I don't want to have to do that, because it's like, I want to win. Like, I don't want to look across at somebody that I respect like that, and then, and not get after it. So no, I'm with you. But I also think to piggyback on Jerry's point, like, it is hard to evaluate, like, it's hard to evaluate competing, because everybody's got a different definition of it too, right? Like, there's no consistency in terms of the language of what that means. It means something different for so many different people. And I think that what has become so important now for us, and it will become even more important during this situation that we're in right now than ever, is the context, right? And I mean that just like, who is he around? Like, the relationships that he has, and the relationships that we as coaches have on the recruiting side of things with the people that are around these guys every day, being able to lean on guys like you that are watching dudes every single day, right? That have a really good feel for the game, that have a tremendous amount of experience in terms of, what the skill set and the characteristics and really common traits in successful guys that have transitioned from high school to college. You guys have been around a ton of them and had your own experiences with that. Our ability to find those connections with guys like you, that have those relationships with those players, and find out their day-to-day, right? Like, find out what they're like on a day-to-day basis, and not just in the 20 minutes that we were able to see them on a field, right? So creating some context to what we see, like, hey, I really like that guy. I like what I saw. Like, is that for real? Like, being able to, if we don't have those relationships with guys to build off of, right, and to add that kind of context, like, I think it becomes really difficult to pull the trigger and make some decisions. Like, you need to have, and you can see it with, I'm sure with a lot of our recruiting classes, probably not just specific to Jerry and I, like, we probably go all over the place for guys. Like, we've gone, we have good relationships in New Jersey, which is why we have had the success, getting guys out of there like we have. But we've also gotten guys out of Florida and California and throughout the Midwest, and when it's not in our backyard in our home state of Virginia. Like, all of those are coming through relationships that we've had from other guys. Because if we're just going to do it off a snapshot of seeing a guy, like, it's going to be really hard to envision how that guy's going to be in our program long term if we don't know what he's like on a day-to-day basis.
Mm-hmm. Well said.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys too. I mean, knowing both of you fairly well, I mean, you guys probably lock in on, who's obviously been good to you, but there's probably a reason why those players have been coming out of certain programs that are probably always pretty good because of the program itself, right? And whether it's a high school program who's very successful and turning out players, or a travel team doing the same thing, it's been cultivated to a certain degree. And I think it's a big part of it, because I tell all our kids all the time, and when they're 13, 14, they're looking to become a Division I athlete. I mean, it starts even younger, right? I mean, how you do, your homework, and, are you in the classroom grinding it out and then coming to practice, and then, basically just learning how to, do what you're supposed to do. And then hopefully that's just going to keep growing as you become a 16, 17-year-old, possible, recruit, and then, commit somewhere. So, it all matters. And obviously kids, I think Jerry, you touched upon this before, obviously how kids are nowadays, and, we're getting them like almost like a finished product. We all have kids, how you treat them at 4 years old is going to pave the way for their whole life. And if you're not doing what they're supposed, instilling all that stuff now, well, then you can't also flip a switch when they're 15, be like, well, you got to become this player or become this person. You can't, right? And
100%.
Yeah, parents have to understand that, because it does matter. I mean, they all want what's best for their kid, but sometimes what's best for their kid, and maybe it's not what's best at that moment. And, it's not easy. We're all parents, right? It's not easy. Sometimes you got to be the bad guy, but if it's going to mean success later on in life, then it is what it is.
And you guys don't know that stuff. It's not like, you follow the Diamond Jacks for 25 games or whatever high school for their whole season, right? So you have to rely on those connections, right, that you have in the recruiting trail.
Yeah, and listen, we're always trying to cultivate new relationships, right? No doubt. Like, we're always trying to find different avenues. I don't think there's anybody better than Jerry at being able to go and dig around to find some new spots, to find some really good guys that fit his philosophy. Like, I've watched it for a really long time. Like, guy will literally go anywhere to find a really good player. So nobody, there's a few guys doing it better than he is with that. But on the flip side, right, as much as we're trying to cultivate new relationships, and I think that part of it has value, there's a lot to be said for relationships you have with guys that are willing to play the long game. And I mean that in the sense of, like, willing to tell you, be honest with you about their evaluation of guys, their thoughts, their opinions on guys, and not just trying to sell you guys, right? Like that, hey, this is what I think, and the best guys aren't going to tell you necessarily, like, oh, that guy's going to be, perfect fit for you, or that, like, because, again, it's hard for high school guys, for summer guys to get out and watch, Pitt play, to watch Old Dominion play. So they're going to go off of, like, hey, this is what he is. This is my opinion of him. I'm going to give you some background information on him. But they're not, like, they understand that their worth comes from being as honest with their evaluations as possible. Because if I can go to you, TJ, if I can go to you, Steve, and say, hey, what do you think? And I can do that year after year, and I can get the same consistency in terms of your evaluations, then that you guys on your end are able to cultivate some relationships long term. Like, that you have now built a really good network of college coaches that will connect with you and go to you to be able to help them out. And I think that's a real asset for guys that are coming up, like guys that are coming up through high school that you guys are working with, being able to get into situations where you're working with people that have the ear of college coaches, that have the trust of college coaches, that they know it's not always going to be perfect, and we're not always going to get guys every year from them. But when we have a potential match, that they're going to give us the truth. And that's something that's really valuable, being able to trust the opinion, of guys like you.
Yeah, that's huge. And I think me and you, Steve, talked about that. Like, we have a guy from your program, and, you've had numerous guys in ACC programs, and not that it's just about ACC, but you know what it's looked like. You know what I mean? But it's just a trust. And you make a great point, Steve. It's funny you say that. It's, I know sometimes I'm probably too hard on my kids, but it starts in between our four walls. You know what I mean? And that's, we say that it's the kids these days, but you're right. It's more the parents. You know what I mean? And I get, right, we all want to see our kid do well, but once again, our kids also, they got to earn it. You know what I mean? It's okay. I think parents don't want to hear, like, your son can't play there. And guess what? That's okay, because there's another place he's going to play, and that's going to be the best fit for him. You know, I think so many kids and so many parents, they just get caught up, well, they got Texas across their chest or UCLA across their chest for 3 years. Well, it doesn't mean it's going to be – and next thing you know, that kid's out of the program a year or two later when he could have went to a Division II or a JUCO, and it's the best fit for him. You know, they need to know it's about the experience, you know, and I don't know what kid wants to go sit on the bench for 4 years. But as you know, it goes back to what Mike said, the trust, you know, where there's so many travel teams that they just want to say that I have 95 Division I guys. Well, do you really even care about those kids? You know what I mean? Because how many of them are playing in those 95 Division I programs, you know? So it's the same thing. It is, man. It's huge to have relationship with guys like you know what I mean? And I tell travel coach too, like, listen, tell me that he's terrible at this or that. Like, I'm going to have more respect. You know what I mean? Call me and say, coach, he can't play at that level. No problem, man. It's the best on all parties. You know what I mean? So
yeah, those are the guys we want to keep calling back.
Yes.
Keep building with, for sure.
Oh, it definitely makes sense. I mean, you guys do need to have resources, and obviously resources you can trust. You know, one of the things that we do when we have our college recruiting seminar on our kids, I start the seminar with, your goal shouldn't be, I want to go play Division I or II or whatever. It's your goal should be, I want to play 4 more years of baseball because I love playing baseball, and then start from there. Because the truth is, to your, you know, Jerry, to your point, I mean, that's what you want to do, right? You play because you love it. You play because you enjoy it. And to play 4 more years is not for everybody. I mean, what the percentage is, I think it was like, 7% of all high school players play college baseball at some level. I mean, it's such a small percentage. So even to be in that percentage is a win. And then if you can get to the Division I level, even better. But, you know, sitting on the bench, that's not going to help anybody. You know, you're not going to enjoy that. And I kind of use an analogy, whether it's a good one or not. You know, I say in high school, there's classes, right? There's a Group 4 in New Jersey, anyways. Group 4 is which is the largest. Group 3, Group 2, Group 1. Well, if you're in a Group 1 school and you're winning a state championship, you're not thinking, I want to be at a Group 4 school. You're enjoying the time with your boys and you're playing baseball. So it really should be the same mindset when you're looking at colleges.
Yeah.
You know, where am I going to go play and enjoy it? Because I kind of doubt that, you know, if you're playing at Division III school, let's say like Keene University, and you're winning a national championship, that you're going to be like, man, I wish I was playing in Division I. No, you're going to be loving the fact that where you are. So, you know, I don't know. I think some kinds it's just perspective too. And the hardest thing for parents, at least I can see in our end, parents and players, is they just don't know what they don't know. Yeah. And they don't know how good the level of, you know, you guys were, you know, the level you guys play on a year out basis. So they can't understand it. And we try to tell them, but sometimes it's not easy. They don't comprehend it.
Yeah, and I respect the guy's desire to want to play at the highest level possible, right? No doubt. Like I respect that, understand it, regardless, right? Like whatever the highest level that they can get to, and that can go on, you know, all the way down, up and down the ladder. But the thing that, you know, Coach Finwood talks about that I think is really good. It's like, hey, where do you want to go where you feel like you can, you know, kind of carve out and make that your home, you know, that you can kind of, you know, look back 20 years from now and feel like that's the place that I really was able to settle in, make some roots and anchor down, and create a great day-to-day experience. Like it's our job, Jerry and our job is to, you know, for the guys that we're working with on, you know, kind of intimately on a day-to-day basis, like how good of an experience can we create for them? Like that's our job. Like the byproduct is the wins. The byproduct is the success at the end of the year. And we are judged on that. We're measured on that, no doubt. And that's important to us. Like we love winning, hate losing, but it's about what process that you're creating, what experience you're creating on a day-to-day basis. It's going to make it really good for your guys. And it's also, I think, going to yield some positive results at the end. Like you're going to win more games probably that way. But it's so much of it is what kind of experience can you create? What kind of environment can you create? How good of a situation can you help your guys with? Like that's our job, right? Put guys in positions to be successful. That's so important to us on the field, off the field. And our guys, the people that, you know, are on the flip side getting recruited, like where can I go that's going to be a tremendous experience for me, that I'm going to really feel like, you know, so much of an experience comes with opportunity to play, right? Like getting on the field and getting a chance to do it. And so that those things get linked hand in hand, and it boils down to where can I go get the best experience, and the rest of it will work itself out.
Yeah.
Definitely. It's all awesome stuff.
Yeah.
Well, we don't want to cut you short, but is there anything that you guys want to touch upon while you guys are committed to being on here?
No, man, I appreciate you having me on for sure. Like I said, I mean, hopefully it can help in some aspect, you know, but it's all good stuff. It's all, you know, it's all about learning.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you guys do a really good job. Like, I mean, this kind of stuff is awesome. Like, to be able to, you know, create this kind of content for people during this time is great. So I know, you know, I'm appreciative and was excited to, you know, get a chance to be on here. And I think you guys are doing a really good job for, you know, growing and promoting the game in the you know, in the great state of New Jersey here. And so I think, you know, keep doing what you're doing with it, because I think you're helping people, you know, that you guys are making impact and helping people around you. And, you know, I think it's a great thing. And yeah, I mean, I'm glad anytime I get to break it down, talk a little shop with Jerry Oaks, I'm all about it, man. It's the best guest you've had on here so far. So like, I'm just happy to be a part of it.
Well, I will say this too. I mean, both you guys, I think, have been a great resource even in this time for me, because I call both you guys and you guys pick up, and you know, I don't have to chase you guys down, which is I appreciate. But even helping us as high school coaches and travel coaches understand what's going on, because we have 200 players that are on our program asking us questions that we don't have the answer to. So, you know, we're obviously looking for you, and you guys have been really, really helpful. And that's why we wanted you guys on, because I want you guys to be able to, you know, give that information to everybody that is at least seeking it. So we definitely appreciate you guys, you know, giving, you know, an hour and a half here and you know, letting everybody know what you know.
Is that all it's been? Felt like about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
You guys are doing a good job moving this thing along.
No, I really appreciate you having me, guys. And like Mike said, you guys do a great job, and keep doing what you're doing, man. Seriously, it's we see it all, you know, day in, day out for sure. So anything we can do, anything I can do to help, man, always here for sure.
Appreciate it, guys. Well, take care. Hopefully we'll see you on the fields of Diamond Nation sooner than later.
Hopefully soon.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. It's been awesome. Really appreciate the time. Thank you.
See you guys.
Thanks, guys. Have a good